when we say class struggle, and when we emphasize this class struggle point of view, we are not saying that class is just an economic category. When we say class, we think in the category we call domination. So domination involves lots of times, lots of kinds of domination. So we have sure economic exploitation, we have the paid work or the capitalist economic exploitation system, but we have also exploitation like pre-capitalist exploitation, like the land owning, so this peasant exploitation. And we also think that there is political domination and there is social domination. So you can find political oppression in imperialism, in colonialism, and this division by those who govern and those who are governed. And we can find some social oppression, like the difference in terms of instruction, gender issues, gender oppression, oppression of the homosexuals, race oppression. So when we think on these issues of class, we mainly consider these economic bases, but we think we have to incorporate all these oppression, all these dominations inside our notion of class. So mainly, what is our strategy? Is to unite all these oppressed classes, so we do not give some preference to any other of these classes. So we think we have to unite these classes, and we have to promote a determined way of mass movement. So I said that we defended mass movement, but okay, it's not any mass movement. So our whole as anarchists is to build and to develop movement in a certain way. So nowadays, if we think on the mass movement that we have, for example, here in Brazil, these movements have lots of characteristics that do not fulfill our needs, that do not contribute to our project. So we have too much hierarchy, we have the leadership separated from the grassroots, we have too much bureaucracy, we have mass movement completely attached to political parties, we have lots of problems in the social movements. So what is our role as anarchists in social movements? It's to promote some characteristics that will contribute to this building of the popular power. So in this process of the building and developing the mass movements, or this mobilization to the short-term goals and with a project in the long run of revolution, of a new society, we have to construct and we have to stimulate some characteristic of the social movements. What are these characteristics? So the first one is what we call force. We think that if you have a movement that is inside an ideology, so if we have a syndicalist movement that is Marxist, if we have a student movement that is anarchist, we think that the movement is weak. We think that this first characteristic of the movement to be really strong, the movement has to be organized through necessity. So we have to have movement like to struggle for land, to struggle for home, to struggle for employment, to struggle for best salaries, better salaries. So we think that the movement has to be formed by these needs and involve people of all different ideologies. So this is the first characteristic. We say the ideologies, the different ideologies inside the movement, not the movement inside one ideology. So, second characteristic, this class struggle characteristic, this class struggle perspective. What is it? It's to involve people that are really suffering the effects of the capitalist system, the state system that we live today. So it's not possible for us to do and to work just with the middle class movement, or to work with a movement that does not involve the poor, that does not involve people that are most explored, that people that really constitutes about 70% of our society here in Brazil. So we think, if we would like to work on a collective project, we have to involve these sectors of society. So this is the class struggle. Perspective that we defend. So there is no problem if you are a student and if you are a medium class worker or something like that. But we have to involve all these oppressive sectors, and we have to consider economic features. So our position is, we cannot reduce class to economic features, but economic features are central. So every time you're working with these other oppressions, you have always to have this economic domination perspective. So normally we have problem with gender exploitation or with gender domination. Yeah, but poor women are most dominated and most explored than rich women. With the blacks, okay? If you are black and you are poor, you're really most dominated, you're really most exploited than a rich black. So that's how we work. Third characteristic, okay, we think, we use a term here that is called combativity, or the movement has to be like really strong and has not to making agreements with government, agreements with the ruling classes, and with the movement have to conquer things by its struggle. So the movement has to struggle, has to mobilize, and have to use its strength to conquer things. So that's what we say combativity is, that notion of class struggle, that we are in a class struggle and we have to conquer things by our own force, imposing our point of view to the ruling classes. So that is other characteristic. The fourth one is autonomy. So we think that this movement cannot be attached to political parties, to the state. This movement can build and have to build its own destiny by these different perspectives and by these contexts inside this oppressed classes universe. So we defend this position that the movement is not attached to the Workers' Party, or if you have we have a really big problem nowadays with the unions, that the unions are formally attached to the state. So we think that that's a big problem we have to deal with. And mainly three last characters. First one, direct action. So we just do not give priority to the representative democracy. So we stimulate movements to act by themselves and to act not by the state, but against the state. So movements have to be organized outside of the state, and we do not have to use the formal democracy process to earn and to promote our struggle. We have to promote our struggle outside of the state. Second one, the direct democracy. So it's exactly to be against this position of this big distance that exists between leadership and the grassroots. We defend like self-managed assemblies. We defend this collective process of taking decisions. So we stimulate these decisions that are taken in horizontal terms. So And the last characteristic, that is, all these movements are organized mainly through short-term issues. So we defend this last characteristic, there is this long-term view, or we have to think that this struggle is connected to others, and as soon as I have a result, it cannot be the end. So if I conquer one thing, I can be organized to other thing, and if I have other thing, I can be united with other workers to fight and to really conquer things more and more, aiming to build a revolutionary perspective. So we think that these characteristics have to be stimulated inside social movements, and we have to promote these long-term view, a revolutionary point of view, that we have to build a kind of a new society with liberty, with freedom, with equality, and a kind of socialism or wherever, but we have to change this domination pattern that rules society nowadays.